Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Talking VoIP with Datagate. In this episode, we're discussing how service providers can leverage new artificial intelligence technologies to get ahead by streamlining their operations and getting valuable business insights. We're joined today by Scott Green, who's the CEO of Aportio. Aportio is leading the transformation of how customer service centers understand and communicate with their customers. So hi, Scott. Welcome. Thanks for joining us today.
Thanks, Mark.
Good. Scott, firstly, tell us a bit about how you got started and what led you to what you're doing today.
Sure. So I've been in the IT industry and more specifically, I guess, the MSP part of the IT industry for coming up 40 years, which is a bit of a scary number, but it's been around for a while. I started when I was 5. So well, that's not true, but anyway, I've been around for a while. And during that time, built a couple of pretty successful MSPs. We led one to an exit where we had 275 people when we sold the business. Was also involved in running a large part of an MSP across Australia and New Zealand that had about 650 people. So I kind of lived and breathed MSP, and as part of that, also recognised in living and breathing it, I recognised some of the challenges that the MSP market faces, both from a sort of scale point of view, competition point of view, customer expectations, all sorts of things, and kind of concluded that actually doing it, the challenge of doing what we're doing, being an incumbent, was actually really hard. So we decided to try and solve some of the problems we saw MSPs grappling with using artificial intelligence, and kind of followed where that took us. I guess we weren't quite sure when we started. We're pretty clear now, but that's kind of the journey to where we are today.
Right. Excellent. So what are the key areas that artificial intelligence can help an MSP?
Yeah, look, I think there's 2 broad categories we see that MSPs are using. We've been talking to hundreds, thousands of MSPs around the world, and boils down to 2 areas, really. One is, how can AI actually create new service capability, whether it's to kind of create scale, to drive efficiency, improve customer experience, generate insights. Basically that kind of broad category of AI-powered service is one of those. And then the other is more around the AI ops area. So this is where we're talking about predictive alerting, kind of root cause, event correlation, helping to prioritize and predict kind of events that need to be attended to. So those 2 categories are where we'd see the main use.
Right. And so what's been your main focus with Aportio in terms of your offering to MSPs?
Yeah, we've certainly focused more on that first use case. So the AI-powered service offerings as opposed to AI ops. And when we started, we this is going back 6 years or so now, we're exploring the whole natural language processing area around bots and what they offered. And we had feedback from a couple of early adopters that said, well, okay, the technology is really interesting. It's an interesting space, but it's still evolving. And actually, we've got a real problem around email that
Yes.
this is a really dominant channel for us. And, as an MSP, typically 40% plus of communications with customers are still coming through via email. Phone and bots and self-service kind of fills out the balance, but email's not going away. And the feedback we had was, well, look, actually this is a pain point for us right now. Can the technology actually help us to fix this email channel rather than trying to shift customers away from it? How can we actually improve the experience and let customers do business with us in a channel that they prefer? And so that's kind of really where we built out our initial offering, was around AI-powered reading and categorization of emails so that they could be then triggering actions inside a range of different ticketing systems used by many MSPs to then trigger actions, to trigger automated workflow responses, trigger assignment of tickets to particular triage groups, specialist groups, ignoring some, so that they didn't actually need attention at all. So that's really kind of where we've focused, is around those sorts of use cases.
Right. And what kind of efficiencies are you seeing out there with MSPs using this technology? What sort of effect is it having on their workloads?
Yeah, well, certainly the experiences we're seeing that, and again, every MSP is different, but typically everyone has a service desk, or they have a frontline set of agents that are spending anywhere between 2 minutes and 4 minutes every time they get an email, working out what it's about, working out who it should go to, is it something that actually needs attention at all, and then starting to populate the relevant kind of ticketing information inside their system of record to ensure that it's actioned appropriately, it's categorized correctly for billing, gets assigned to the right group. And all of those things take time. And the average unit price of a service desk agent is $1 a minute, pretty much regardless of currency. If you're in the US, it's $1 a minute US. If you're in New Zealand, it's $1 a minute New Zealand. So that $1 a minute of your cost of an agent, and if you multiply that times 2 to 4 minutes across all of the tickets they manage in a day, a small MSP might be dealing with anywhere between 2,000 to 4,000 emails a month. 4 minutes. Basically, there's $5,000 to $6,000 of effort in their team that's been applied to doing that basic triage. And forget about anything around accuracy or consistency. Just looking straight at the effort saved by dealing with that more efficiently, it does two things. One, it significantly reduces that cost, and two, importantly, it improves the consistency of the categorization of all those requests, and it also helps to free up the agents to actually be doing what they want to be doing, which is actually solving the customer problem, not dealing with, the boss told me I had to categorize these tickets this way, and I forgot, and I had a bad morning, and I kicked the cat on the way out, and therefore this is all too hard, and I'll just pick one from the top three.
Yeah, excellent. And so, to configure a system like this, what's involved? Where do you start? I mean, what is the process for configuring an artificial intelligence system like that?
Yeah, well, and again, lots of different ways of implementing AI. Some come built into ticketing systems. Others are add-ons. So in our case, it's an add-on specifically designed around the email and other text sources. So we can take uploads from ticketing systems, we can take feeds from web portals, etc. But basically, the key thing, first step, is to say, well, what's the channel where we're trying to apply this conversational AI across? If it's the email channel, basically we set up a relay from their 𝗖𝗓𝗋𝗋 mailbox. They keep getting that email, they've got that as a permanent record. We get a copy of that email, we ingest that into our system, do the categorization, and then we have an API integration into their ticketing system, which allows us to pass the email and the other attributes that we've extracted and into their ticketing system automatically. So the setup of that basic connection is a 10-minute kind of, go into your mail admin and add this instruction into the relays, put in some security parameters to make sure that there's a trusted link between your system and ours, and give us an API password into your and user credentials into your ticketing system to create and query. And that basically starts the flow. So that can be done inside 20, 30 minutes. And then you start to see into test customers or just into our dashboard, you start to see, here's the flow. This is what these tickets look like, so they're starting to, we see actually we're getting 30% of our calls coming in are incidents, 70% are service requests. Okay, within that, the service requests relate to user adds and changes, or actually there's network outages that are a problem. That's what's creating a lot of our incident traffic. So that's kind of basically that visibility is the first kind of pass of benefit is to start informing. For a lot of organizations, they just don't know actually what the volume is, because their agents aren't categorizing it, because they'd far rather be dealing with the problem than working out what category to assign to it. So we basically kind of take that workload off, give the business immediate insight, and then after that you can start configuring rules to say, okay, when we see these sorts of events occurring, what do we want to have happen to them? What do we want these types of events? Do we want network type events to be assigned to this resolver group? These are the people in our team that are network specialists. We don't want them dealing with the simple stuff. We want them dealing with the more complex. So you can start basically moving the traffic automatically across to different groups in your business without the need to tie up a triage person doing that activity.
Right. And with the ticketing systems, which systems are you working with mostly?
Yeah, currently we have integrations with Autotask, with ServiceNow, we're Manage Engine. We're just in final testing with an integration into ConnectWise. So across, and we're also looking to bring on Halo as well. So we've got, probably the more popular ticketing systems that most small, medium-sized MSPs would use. Obviously, ServiceNow more at the top end of town. And that's where, we also see a lot bigger volumes. So some of the bigger MSPs will be generating 15, 20, in some cases, 50,000 emails a month that they're processing. The really big ones, even, when we get into contact center land, they're generating 100, 200,000 a month. So, those sorts of volumes, basically, we can pass through into those different ticketing systems.
Wow. And could you describe the interaction with the ticketing system? Do you make any changes to tickets that exist? Do you set, fields and things on the Yeah.
So when we create a ticket inside, let's say Autotask as an example, we will automatically set a value for the ticket type, which is this an incident or a service request? We'll assign a category, an issue type and a sub-issue type as necessary. So that kind of say the issue type is network, the sub-issue type is Wi-Fi connectivity, for example. That mapping is based on a customer by customer basis, so they can go in and define which of those values they want to have populated. But we can also assign to the queue that it should be tended by. We can assign the start time, or how long before the ticket needs to hit some escalation triggers. We can assign urgency. We can assign sentiment, so we can identify where there's an indicator of dissatisfaction and potentially also flag that in a certain way as well. So those are the common types of values that we would typically start to create, and we populate each of those. And obviously also who raised the ticket. We do lookups. We make sure that there's not a duplicate ticket that's already been created related to that issue. So there's a whole heap of cleaning, get rid of all the noise. But ultimately, we put the subject line and the body of the emails into a newly formed ticket, as well as having populated all of those mandatory categorization fields.
Wow, that's impressive. How quickly do you see AI becoming predominant in the MSP world? I mean, what's the level of take up that you're seeing?
Yeah, well, look, I think it's one of those challenges. I mean, I'm sure you've familiar with the Gartner hype cycle, and we're somewhere past the absolute hype curve. And now descending into the reality of actually, we can see, where it can play. And everyone kind of has this mental picture of how AI is going to change the world. In reality, you've got to crawl before you can walk. You've got to walk before you can run. And that applies to both the technology and also the organization that's implementing it. And, one of the things we see, two profiles of MSP. We've got those that are ambitiously embracing a big vision and trying to build out that big vision, and ultimately risking a significant amount of time and effort that's actually not delivering benefit, because the effort to get to that beautiful endpoint is actually not as simple as you think it might be. And then you've got the ones at the other end of the spectrum who are saying, well, hell, this is a big area. There's so many different things I could work on. Where do I start? And so, our advice around that is, well, start with the things that can immediately kind of start to impact your bottom line and free up time, because every MSP I talk to, the biggest challenge they have is they're time poor. They can't tap into the skills. If they've got the skills are pretty busy doing other stuff at the moment. So when you've got a really busy team, how do you kind of start taking the necessary steps? So we kind of, say, okay, well, start with the little steps, and then deal with the things that have the biggest impact across everything you do. And that's why, personally, we kind of advocate email is actually a pretty good channel to start, because you've got a large volume of traffic coming in. What we do solves a particular problem really, really well that we know costs service providers time and consumes the energy and focus of their people. And by implementing those sorts of steps, I'm not saying we're the only thing, but kind of picking off those low-hanging but pervasive functions and starting there is kind of where we see a lot of more, and particularly, I think the smaller mid-sized MSPs they get that. They well, we can't do everything. We can't pursue the big, bold, ambitious path, but we can actually kind of do this. And by doing this, it actually gives us back 2 or 3 minutes for every ticket in the ticketing system. That's going to free up some time, make us more efficient, give us better insights into what we should do next after that. And then we take another step.
Excellent. And I think, I guess by focusing on the MSPs using particular ticketing systems, it's similar to what we've done at Datagate with billing. We can plug into those PSA systems and add value straight away. Ticketing is obviously an excellent application for AI. Are there any others that you've looked at? Have you looked at any like sales or security or those sort of other areas?
Well, look, certainly. I mean, there are AI powered initiatives across all of those, whether it be automating proposal generation in the sales and marketing area. Obviously the ticketing we've talked about. I mentioned the AI ops and billing optimization areas, and that one, particularly with Datagate. And I know billing's near and dear to your heart. We kind of, we see that what we're doing in the billing space is helping to speed up the billing cycle, so that actually your month-end process for your admin team, they don't have, they can see what's billable and what's not just by the accurate categorization, and therefore they don't have to drill in to every single line item, and they can therefore typically find $3,000, $4,000, $10,000 a month of extra billing that's just straight to the bottom line, that previously, because the tickets weren't categorized and there was only 15 minutes of time assigned to them, they say, well, we haven't got time to look at every ticket to work out whether this is billable or not, write it off. So basically we see that kind of billing optimization. We help with that a little bit, but we also see obviously tools like Datagate kind of helping in that space as well, to really kind of make that billing revenue recovery, minimize customers coming back and saying, what the hell was that for? Well, actually, we've got a nice tidy description category, and therefore it's not disputable, and it keeps the pipes clean and moving. So that kind of is that billing optimization is an area. The analytics just across, again, whether it be our tools or other tools to really help surface the big workloads, is kind of where we see a lot of the AI powered initiatives going into. And the other one, which many MSPs may or may not want to pursue, but is basically offering that kind of machine learning, artificial intelligence powered capability as a digital transformation service for their own customers, and generating new consulting revenue streams and value. Now, again, we like to think that people will sell what they use, and so we encourage, our customers who are seeing benefit in what we do. What we do isn't just for the IT industry. We have models that work into utilities, into finance and banking, into retail, into distribution, freight forwarding. So there's a range of different use cases for the same underpinning technology. And that's a revenue opportunity for MSPs who I think are constantly challenged to bring business value to their customers, as opposed to just talking about, hey, we're an overhead for you. We recognize that, and we'll stay in our little box, and we'll actually never get to the board table. Whereas actually starting to talk about digital transformation with customers and being able to show them some simple ways they can benefit is a fantastic revenue opportunity, and underpinned by product offerings like our own.
Yes, I can see that there's so much value you can add to so many different parts of a business. You've probably got the issue of what things do we focus on to promote it. And I particularly relate to and like the one you just mentioned. I liked all of them, but I particularly liked recognizing billable tickets and billable items, where for a person to go through and sort all that out would be uneconomic, but for a machine to go through and recognize the billable things, that's fantastic. That's exciting.
Yeah, and look, we had we've got one customer who said that they reduced their end of month billing cycle by 50%.
Wow.
And along the way, identified uncovered revenue opportunities that they hadn't previously been billing at all.
Yeah. Excellent. So what would you say, what would be your message to MSPs who have not yet taken the step into AI? What's your
well, on the one hand, don't feel as though you've missed the bus. I think that this is a long game. It's moving incredibly quickly, and so they need to be thinking and taking steps to embrace it, but don't feel as though they're 1,000 miles behind the game. But they do need to have a conscious start. I think the other key thing, to my mind, the ones that I see actually being successful in this space, they have clear accountability in their business around who actually owns this and who needs to make it happen. And unless you have some potentially quite ambitious or overly ambitious goals around the impact of AI, then you're not going to make progress. And I think one of my old mentors used to tell me that technology evolutions like this, they typically the speed with which they occur is overestimated, but the impact that they make is underestimated. So it's not going to happen as fast, but when it happens, it's going to be really impactful. So you need to make a start, and as I think to my mind, it's about starting at that kind of base level. Get some simple things going that are giving you back time to then showcase that, build momentum, identify your next opportunities. So those kind of that's one part of the recommendation. I think the other thing that they need to really consider, and there's a bit of fear and uncertainty around this that's probably overhyped in some regards, but in others probably underestimated as well. But the whole security space, kind of understanding when you are embarking on this, well, you're using AI, but how is that data, and where is that data being retained? Is it secure? Do the platforms that we're using, are they trustworthy in terms of applying the appropriate standards to ensure that there's no data breaches? I think that's an important component of any AI strategy, because I can tell you one thing: if you're a service provider, you do not want to be running up an entire AI stack to do conversational summarization, for example. it's uneconomical. You've got to consume services that are available, but when you consume those services and pay for them by the hour or by the month, whatever it might be, you need to be confident that the data that you're getting consumed is being secured. So those are a couple of biggies. I think your data and the accessibility of it, the cleanliness of it, they're things to consider. And I think the only other really big thing to think around is am I looking for the big bang holistic kind of, I'm going to embrace one vendor's version of AI, and I'm just going to run that through everywhere. And that has some advantages in terms of giving you've kind of outsourced a lot of the problem, and you're going to try and take the benefit of kind of winning by what they do without necessarily being able to influence the point things that are really important to you. Or alternatively, are you looking to build a base of best of breed point solutions that allow you to build out a stack over time? And I think that question and the downstream consequences of that around, who's doing the training, who are my partners in this area, how do I ensure that I'm not dealing with tool sprawl, those things need to be factored in as well.
Excellent. Well, that's great. Thank you, Scott. This has been a very interesting and very inspiring conversation. And I'd say to our viewers, I'd encourage you to get in touch with Scott and his team at Aportio, the experts in artificial intelligence for MSPs. And Scott's and the Aportio contact details are on the screen right now. So it's been great talking with you, Scott. Thank you very much for your time. And to all our viewers out there, thank you for joining us. We look forward to catching up with you next time, and may the VoIP be with you.